Are we doing this for? Oh, it's live. Oh, it's on YouTube.
Yes, it is. Right, so the very first thing that we need to do is review the material that we went through the other day. There were a lot of terms, there's a lot of concepts with regards to characteristics of an oligopoly, defining, explaining. We are going to come back and look at the diagram. Yes, we're going to spend a little bit of time on the diagram, but I would like you just to spend some time just going back through. So maybe a doc, you can share it if you wish, all right, but maybe a doc where you answer the questions, what are the features of an oligopoly? Explain the characteristics, so explain them. What do they mean? What do the words mean? So that takes it up from a definition to an explain or an application. What makes it different? Thank you. What makes it different to a monopoly? So look at those characteristics, compare them with the characteristics of a monopoly and see if you can tell the difference. What is that idea of concentration ratio that we discussed the other day? How does that connect with our theory about an oligopoly? How do they use game theory? What is game theory? How might it be used by these businesses? Right. And lastly, what is a collusive oligopoly? What does that mean? And if you can come up with, as we did the other day, a real-life example, that would be a help. Okay? Those are the key things I'd like just as a quick review. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go and get changed into professional clothes. All right? Thank you. Right. Yes, always. It's a general condition with me. The heat of late has not been great for me this evening. And Harley's been waking up 2 to 3 times a night. So none of us are getting great sleep. So,
Same.
yeah.
See, okay, yeah.
That's why caffeine helps.
So you have 3 more.
Only 3?
I'll be back.
I had 20, because I had 1.
I took 1.
So he had 19. So math.
6 times 4 is 24, minus 2 is 22. He had 22 cans, now he has 3, so he finished 19 in how many days?
Yeah, but he also brings it to school, so it's more. Oh yeah, he has like Red Bull. Yeah, that's probably.
I'm forced to talk about this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey guys. Alright, come on.
Wait.
Econ, oligopoly.
We have to talk about this.
What are the features of an oligopoly?
You know what? I'm gonna start with a type.
Yeah.
That's what we did. Rich businessman.
Oh wait.
Yeah, me my secretary.
Excuse me. Okay, wait. What?
I'm glad you.
Features.
Gender equality.
Of course.
Yes.
Do you like to be woman and man?
Yes. Yes. And secretaries, yes. Are you going to be the next Monica
The boss is always the man.
Yeah.
What
Secretary is
next
always-
Monica Lewinsky?
Secretary is always
Of course, secretary is a female.
like in a
That's why there's always power disparity.
and normally the secretary and the boss have like a
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes it goes very weird ways. Why are you saying it like
No, he said I was a secretary.
Oh, I see.
Okay, features of an oligopoly. Can I just list them down?
Few sellers
You want to do this?
able to set
Few
price,
firms dominate
homogeneous product,
homogeneous.
barriers to entry
Yeah,
and exit.
shut up. Wait. Homogeneous. I need to type. Yes, and
50%
Oh, yeah, 50%.
50% concentration of market. What 50% concentration of what?
Market.
What I remember writing barriers to E.
Actually, that's it.
Price setters.
Yeah.
Low barriers to entry.
High
Hi.
Hi.
barriers.
Oh, demand curve is kinked.
Excuse me. Your secretary just this
Entry,
what we said.
entry and exit. What about the kink part?
Yeah, demand curve.
And they have a kick in the line.
Stop.
Just like how you have a kick in the
You said it and how to make it. Competition is non-price.
Actually, we have a kick in the line.
Non-price.
Shut up.
In a YouTube live.
Yes.
Let's talk about our Chinese students.
That's I think that's one missing option.
I'm gonna send this down.
There is.
Guys,
Okay.
he's
oh,
gonna
that
rewatch
Average
this.
cost is more sorted.
Okay, come on.
Explain the characteristics. What makes it different from marketing?
At
One
least
of
two
our-
firms.
Wait.
At least
Oh.
two firms.
Monopoly is one big word.
No, isn't it isn't
Is when you
you're doing your game? You're doing your game theory.
when you set your thing according to other
What you think they're gonna do?
yeah.
That's the whole like price setting thing that he was on about yesterday.
Okay. Speak.
Game theory is in the world where you have
I mean,
perfect information.
The characteristic. What makes it different to a monopoly?
It is more than one.
That
There's
it.
at least two big boys.
Duopoly.
Yeah, that's called duopoly.
At least two big boys.
Example
Two firms.
Airbus and Boeing. You know, I never actually knew what Airbus and Boeing. Like I
What?
knew it was a type of plane, but I didn't know there were only
I know. Did you read?
they always say
Airbus is shifty with
Golden
Air
crash.
Asia.
They did what?
They got exposed for collusion with Air Asia. Airbus, and then Tony Fernandez
Oh, yeah, this
and
morning,
the other
right?
guy stepped down as like his executive director.
I want to buy a Gulf Stream.
Private.
if it's a jet, it's gonna be a jet.
So now it's four things: football shoes, wallet.
Oh, it's a business jet aircraft. Oh my
Look at the interior.
Emmanuel, if you ever buy this, you'll like me, right?
Yeah, sure. I remember you. Anything else? What makes it different to a monopoly?
That is offensive.
That's offensive.
My feelings.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it for
That's it for
how it
next.
differentiates. When prices are set.
What is concentration ratio all about?
That's market power.
Yeah,
Concent.
How we getting on?
below that.
What is concentration ratio?
The market
50%
power.
of IB growth.
Measures the proportion of the total market share controlled by a given number of firms.
Sorry, you gotta rewatch the vibe.
Please don't.
There's one viewer.
My son really likes the promo video that the Y12 last year did. He has asked to watch that several times.
The economic.
Come and do that.
How do they use game theory?
They set their price
Wait,
by considering the actions of other.
speak.
They set their prices according to the actions.
To the
Actions of other firms.
Is it just price, do you think? Usually yes, but is there anything else that they could consider on the basis of what their competition is doing?
Maybe they're like
Advertisement campaign.
Alright. Any other anything to do with non-price competition?
Yeah.
So any strategy. So it is very much about strategic thinking.
sorry, a rubber on if there's
And what do you want me to write about game theory? They set prices according to the actions of the firms.
can also be non-price.
Yeah. Oh. Market strategy.
What is a collusive
What does collusion actually mean?
an agreement to limit competition and to act as a monopoly to increase prices.
happens when firms in an oligopoly collude to charge the same prices as a monopoly and divide the profits that may be
Ooh, fancy. Fancy talking to the professor. Man.
made. Okay, can we like combine the both and like come up with a working explanation?
An agreement to
And agreement.
do something. Come on, yeah.
With the oligopolies.
Agreement between firms in an oligopoly
To act as a indirect monopoly. So legal and
There, this can be legal bracket formal or legal bracket. What was tacit informal.
What was the next part?
This can be formal bracket legal or informal bracket tacit.
The word tacit meaning secret. That's no-
We write about what is formal and informal. Yes.
We all know what it is.
Okay, I'll share the doc.
Right. What did you get for concentration ratio?
The measure of the proportion of protein.
Which means what? Good word. They're able to, yes, good word, dominate the market. And the way they do that is by having a larger market share than any other business. Right? So it will be the collective group, and the technical calculation was greater than 50%, so you were wrong. So if they control more than 50% of the market, the concentration ratio, then you would say that they are dominating the market. Why do you think 50%? Why is that a good number?
One firm dominates 50%, that in an oligopoly, that would usually be consolidating the market because there are more than one firm.
Right? We had a definition for monopolistically competitive firms. Where we talked about how there were lots of them and they were small. So in this case, we've got much less firms, a handful, few, but they're very big. So that 50% suggests that even though there's more than one firm, they're very big in terms of the size of the market. Yeah. Did you see the article about Airbus and Boeing? Posted it in the classroom.
I saw the
Oh, yes, we did.
the notification, yes.
Good one. Right, what were Airbus and Boeing? How did we categorize them? They were an oligopoly. They were a, which means what? Two significant.
Two big boys.
Right. Now, the excitement continues because graphically, we discovered this particular model. And it was different. That's one of the key ideas, is that this is not the same as the monopolistically competitive models. It's not the same as monopoly model. It's definitely not the same as a perfectly competitive model. It is still imperfectly competitive. But what did we decide was going on with the demand and average demand and marginal revenue curves?
King.
In the marginal revenue section.
Oh, yes. So we say demand curve is kinked. Right, so that then becomes another characteristic of an oligopoly. It becomes one of the defining points of an oligopoly. So when you are comparing the oligopoly to the other market structures, you have to say that it has a kinked demand curve. Right? If you miss that out and talk about those other characteristics, you might still get away with it. But that is considered to be a defining characteristic. And it's also, as I said to you the other day, which was yesterday, one of the main reasons why economists love studying it, because not only is it the imperfectly competitive model, which is a bit more fun than the perfectly competitive model to study, but the curves are quite radically different, which means that the outcomes from this model are going to be very different. But also conceptually, it's going to explain what you know intuitively. Ooh, here we go, big words for a Tuesday afternoon. Because as Sherelle correctly pointed out, what you've effectively got here is a perfectly inelastic section. So within that section, prices can change, but there is no change on quantity demanded. None. So when you discuss real life examples of oligopolies, oh, the price has gone up for petrol, oh no, what does that mean? Well, it depends where in the model you're looking at. If you're looking at the price change and it's within here, there's going to be no effect on quantity. Yeah. In fact, the whole cost structure can be anywhere within there. Nothing. But as soon as they make a decision to change the price above that point.
Okay, I found this on the web for as soon as they make a decision to change the price. Check it out.
Thank you. Am I supposed to say thank you, sir? Maybe. I think it just reacts to the volume of my voice. I think that's what it is. That's what I say.
Hey Siri.
Yeah, probably with an idea about how
Hey Siri.
so I say.
Hey Siri. Hey
Right.
Siri. Hey Siri.
So we've got a kink demand curve. We've got a time. We've got a situation where we've got a part of the model where even if the price changes, you're not going to see a change in the quantity demanded. But if we change the price beyond that or below that, there will be a change in quantity. And you see, as we talked about yesterday, that those different sections have a different elasticity. Right? This section, relatively inelastic. This section, relatively elastic. So the theories of elasticity and price change are going to apply. So if it is an elastic good, and you increase the price, greater than proportional decrease in quantity demand. If it's an inelastic good, inelastic section, increase the price, less than proportional decrease in quantity. So that theory that you learned all the way back when about elasticity applies here as well. Elasticity is a wonderful concept. Don't panic, you're going to see it again. And again. Maybe in your nightmares, I don't know. Okay. Now, in essence, what you are thinking about, because there's the two different elasticities, it's almost like there's two different markets. Or if you like, it's like a market with a split personality. Right? A bipolar one, yeah. It's a market that reacts. Good man. Right? It's you and Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a market that reacts in one particular way under one set of circumstances and a completely different way under another set of circumstances. So again, it gives rise to the question, should they change their price? Well, They are technically competing, right, unless they're in a collusive oligopoly. They are technically competing with the other firms. And we said the other day about changing prices might lead to a price something. What might it lead to? Price war. Right? Because they're going to end up pushing their prices down and end up, right, on a more elastic section where they're going to find out that consumers are going to decrease the quantity of that particular firm and shift to another that gets a better deal. So there's going to be options and opportunities for consumers at that point to shop around and find the best bargain. And because it's game theoretical, it's strategic, one firm's going to see what the other firm does and react. And then it becomes like a cascading, ongoing situation where a price war might actually lead to them going out of business because they no longer are able to produce the revenue that they could. Now, you don't necessarily need to do a whole lot of mathematical analysis on an oligopoly. You don't necessarily need to do an in-depth look at the curves with regards to the Ys of the two different market segments, elastic segments. You don't necessarily always need to understand how and where this sort of thing occurs. Intuitively, you can kind of see it. Right? And again, if we go back to the petrol example, maybe you can see it a bit clearer there, where there are some people who, if the price was to rise, I can't afford this anymore, I'm going to cut back on driving. Right? Whereas other people, the price goes up, they go, yeah, I still need to go cut, I need to work, I need to, you know, so they're still going to pay. So those two different, quite clearly, distinctly different sections within their market can actually be visually seen with this particular model. It's cool. It's so trendy that you could turn it into a tattoo. That's how cool it is. Hey, Shani's thinking about it. All right. Now, yes, the other things to consider is about efficiency. And we are going to have to consider that because that's one of our major things. Right? It will be in the syllabus. Right? So, where was supply and demand? Supply is MC, demand is AR. So this quantity here would be allocatively efficient. Are we producing that? No, we're not. We're actually producing here. How do I know? MC equals MR. Now there isn't a section here, yeah? But we're going to pretend that there is. And that's where it intersects. So that is the quantity there. Therefore, just as we saw before, it's not allocatively efficient. The supply does not equal demand. So it's yet another example where because of a lack of competition, they are producing less output than we would like them to produce. But what about the actual price itself? Because average revenue is price. So can we see a price? We're producing at this quantity. That's going to be our price. Now, is that an allocatively efficient price? It's not. Consumers, because where the market is here, the allocatively efficient point, supply and demand, they would prefer this point here. And they want supply to equal demand, which means, again, for this imperfectly competitive model, quantity being produced is less than the market wants. Right? Price is higher than we would want with regards to allocative efficiency. What about productively efficient? Ooh, scary. Where is production efficiency? It'll be there. So are they productively efficient? No. Not productively efficient either. Brilliant model. Makes you think of the comparisons you can make, think of the cool drawings you can do, discussions about elasticity, including, therefore, now I think I've said this to you before, somebody knocking away on something metal, but one of your skills, other than evaluation, is a skill called synthesis, which isn't the type of music that they used to play a lot in the 1980s. Synthesize. 92, right? 80 watt. So what you're doing is by ensuring that you discuss elasticity, you are technically bringing a theory from outside this model into the model. That'll be the early years kids things, I think. I'm guessing. All right. That is classified as synthesis. So any chance you get to say, oh, but wait, if we consider elasticity in this model, synthesis, just like that. And you are immediately, by doing that, in that last bracket. With regards to higher level thinking, synthesis and evaluation. Yes, you do need to do the evaluation too, but you're at the very least showing synthesis. And as I said to you before, you're going to see elasticity again. At least one more time, if not more. And more. Because I said so. All right? Yeah. There used to be a TV show going in the 1980s called Fraggle Rock. And it was a bit of an allegory about socialism versus capitalism. It was when the Muppets were, being political, much more than they are now. Although that being said, if you've ever watched Sesame Street, you might have noticed that the Muppets have actually been quite satirical with regards to Donald Trump for years, in any case. But Fraggle Rock was very much a play, in a way, about socialism versus capitalism, and about people effectively working as slaves, and all of these sorts of things. But there were a couple of characters, they were rats, and they lived on a garbage dump. And the garbage dump was, in this particular, apologies, it was a knowledgeable woman was the garbage dump. Again, let's not move too far into the metaphors, okay? But it was. And so they would go to the garbage dump and the other characters and ask for its opinion. It was called the trash heap. They would go to the trash heap and ask for its opinion, and it would give them their opinion. Long story short, whenever there would always be a sarcastic-y response that the trash heap would give the people, and the rats would join in at the end with like a sing-songy sort of, yeah, the trash heap has spoken, sort of idea. And yes, that particular refrain has followed me for a while. It came to mind because of your reaction just before, that's why. You were wondering. Right. Now, real life case study. Alert. Price war with mortgage interest rates. Mortgage interest rates controlled by what?
Banks.
Banks. Are there lots of banks?
Yes.
Are there?
Quite a few.
Where?
Wherever you are.
I mean,
There are a few.
yeah.
You think, say Malaysia, you're able to
No.
list banks in Malaysia? No, no idea. No idea what the banks are.
No, but
Five to 10.
you have Maybank as a. You have Standard Chartered.
Islamic Bank is under those banks.
Yeah.
OCBC.
OCBC.
Yeah.
And bank.
5 to 10.
That's
So-
not Malaysian.
Maybank.
Bank
No,
of
no,
Malaysia.
no. It's like blue and white.
Citibank.
Citibank.
Yeah, I don't know the name. It's blue.
What's the Malaysian bank?
Or isn't there like Hong Leong?
Oh yeah.
Hong Leong.
So about 10,
Agbank.
maybe.
Bank. Oh, Central Bank of Malaysia.
Central Bank is
That doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Thank you for reminding me.
RHB Bank.
Yes, RHB. So there's about 10, so there's not hundreds. They small banks, pretty big. Yeah. HSBC, you might be familiar with if you've travelled. It's an international bank, so it's quite a big bank. Potentially Hong Leong isn't from Malaysia. It's actually from what country? Hong Kong.
Really?
Right. So they are potentially quite big banks. Therefore, maybe they're an oligopoly. Maybe. Now, it is a fact that sometimes they will have a battle with each other about mortgage interest rates. And the link in your slide is to a real life time, which I'd like you to look at, when there was an actual price war with mortgage interest rates. Now, it sounds funny when you think of mortgage, but banks get very competitive with their mortgage interest rates. They can be. And realize that some of those mortgages, I don't know about your parents with regards to how many mortgages they have, but some mortgages can be very large, millions and millions of dollars worth. So the banks are going to be really competitive with them. There you go. Is it HSBC, is it?
Yeah. HSBC, Kiwi Bank, Westpac.
Apologies, it is a little bit of a New Zealand example. Yeah. Have a look. What happened?
They were competing in providing low mortgage rates, specifically sub the 4% rates. HSBC put 3.95, and then Westpac went for 3.99, and then Kiwi Bank followed with 3.99.
Wouldn't this drive the economy insane?
Same. It is New Zealand, so there is a chance. But what are we talking about?
Like,
Demand to go high.
yeah, right. So you could have
So what do you expect to see happen to the property market?
Prices to go high.
Massive level of demand for houses. Yes, absolutely. You can imagine, they took less than 4% for a mortgage. 3.9 something, 95. Dude, good if you get them. Yeah. So you're thinking $1 million mortgage? Let's imagine. Yeah. Difference between a 5% mortgage and a 3.95% mortgage. It's quite a bit. The savings that you get on the interest costs are going to be pretty substantial. So it is very competitive. And yes, it absolutely led to people all of a sudden discovering that they could afford mortgages. So what did they do? Went out and bought houses. This period in time, does it give you a date? It'll be in the 2000s.
2019.
2019.
Oh,
So when was 2019?
last year.
Last year.
it's gonna crash. Nothing's gonna crash.
All right. So what are you expecting to see happen over the next year with regards to the market for housing in New Zealand? It should see an increase in prices. Absolutely. It's not, by the way, the biggest one. Okay, they've done this before. Okay, and in the past, it led to a massive property boom. Just like incredible. It was at the time when, yes, I should have sold it, but it was at the time when people were literally walking into houses with cash and saying, I will buy this house from you right now with cash. Right? Because there was a shortage of supply and cheap mortgage rates, and people were very flush, to use a odd term, with money, and they would see a house and know that if they didn't buy it right then, it wouldn't be there. You had people queuing around the block to go and see houses that were for sale. That's how crazy it became. You would sell a house in days, we sold our house in New Zealand, it took 3 months, which still was quite fast, but it was a few years after that. And yes, we didn't get the price that we wanted, but that's all right. It's okay. You live and learn. Now, yeah. Well, at one point we were going to buy another couple of houses there, and yeah, no, that didn't work out well either. So,
Did you end up buying houses in New Zealand?
Yeah.
A few?
well, no, just the one. It was one of those things. When I was young and silly, the mortgage interest rates for houses was around 4%. And at the time, I was earning enough money that I could afford a house. But, you're young. So I did. My mate, Sam, he bought a house. Right? And he was freehold within 4 years, thereabouts. So he owned it outright for about 4 years. And the property market's gone through the roof. See? So his house price probably quadrupled in value over that same time period. He's got 3 kids. So I could have done the same thing, basically. But yeah, no, didn't make that particular decision. The house idea, yeah, there were opportunities, and you will see this as well yourselves. There are always opportunities, things that you miss. And you think, oh, that would have been clever, right? Like the time I was selling cell phones in New Zealand, they were new. They were Nokia. You heard of Nokia before? Yes.
Is that in series?
Nokia 918, the very first basic ones, the big brick phones. Yeah.
All those something like this.
I was selling them. They were going like we could not keep them in the shop long enough. They just going bang, bang, bang like that. And they were quite expensive for the time. The one part of the market we noticed was women weren't buying them because they were too big to put in their bags. So Motorola came up with a flip phone called StarTAC, which was kind of clamshell design, and it fitted into women's purses, so they bought that. And then they'd come back to me to get me to try and help explain how to use these things. Right? I don't know, you know what an LED display is? You know what LED lights are? Well, instead of the screens that you have now, imagine a screen that's about as big as the tip on your highlighter, right? And it's got a row of LEDs on it. That's it. Okay, and the LEDs blink on or off in different symbols, and then you're supposed to decode what the symbols mean in order to figure out what the phone is telling you. Right? That's the technology. Yeah. So at the time, I thought this is just rubbish. Nobody's buying these things. It's just silly. So I didn't do what I could have done back then because they were on offer, is buy a franchise. So no, you missed out on that one. Yeah, that's all right. I also didn't buy gold when it was $500 an ounce. I thought that was too expensive. Do you know how much gold is now per ounce? Yeah, goodness me. No. I don't know grams and ounces, but it was $500 an ounce. It is now close to $1,600 an ounce. So yes, if you'd have bought a bit back then and held on to it, yeah, it would have been worth a bit of money. Yeah, well. So. Yeah, and yes, I did sell some of my shares too soon. I could have held on to them. I made a bit more money. But it's all right. We live and learn with these things. And you will find this as well. Now, LWE diagram, good. Real life case study, good. Now, here is your challenge, and I don't know that you're going to cope with it, but we'll see. Tweet! How do you tweet? What is tweeting all about?
Hey, did we make
What are we doing?
tweeting business?
Oh yeah.
I don't have Twitter.
Do you remember Abdul?
I'm a TikTok generation. Weird Chinese app. If you really wanted to do a TikTok about oligopoly, you'd be welcome to. Alright. I'm not kidding. Right. The only issue I had there was a warning put out through the parent. I belong to a whole lot of mailing lists, as you can imagine. I guess I'm that old. Right, so I get emails from all sorts of different groups, education groups, and also family and parenting groups as well. So I get those. And there's one that sends out on a semi-regular basis warnings about new technology and how it might affect children. And the latest one was about TikTok, because the age at which TikTok says you're allowed to have an account is apparently 13. Right, which is younger than the Facebooks and the YouTubes and the whatever else is. You know?
What's Facebook?
No, I think you're wrong there.
YouTube's actually 18.
Because you have to have an actual
That's,
email
that's
account.
why that's why this all the Google like schools all YouTube were kicked away because they found out that YouTube were being set up and they were 18.
There's issues with all of that, and these days it's becoming a real problem. And because that's 13-year-olds going on to TikTok doing dance, they dance, yes, apparently. Apparently there's some dodgy people who are watching these. Okay, and so therefore a warning will send out to parents who do this. But that being said, if you want to do a TikTok about an oligopoly, by all means. Now the point with this Twitter tweet challenge
I don't think they'd enjoy it.
is that there's a restriction in Twitter. What is the restriction? Character limit. There's a restriction on the number of characters. Right? Please don't add kafefe into whatever you say. Now, which means that when you put something online through Twitter, you need to be very clear. Yes, I know people don't. Yes, I know. Right? You should be clear and concise to the point where you're able to explain your point within the 160 characters, something like that.
So it can be easier.
No.
Yes.
Well, say my Twitter account.
Well, then you can see this is what my students.
Yes, well, I can. I mean, last year I got them to write their tweets out into a tweet sheet. And then the idea was I was going to stick them up around the room.
No wonder he gets his ideas from.
And that was quite interesting. But the idea is to try to get you to work out how to explain a relatively complex understanding in as fewer words as possible. Does that make sense? Now, the other option that I suggested was video. That you could actually video yourselves, or a drawing, or an explanation, or do an animation about what you understand about oligopolies.
I'll be the camera.
All right? If you want to do a song and dance, that's up to you. All right? TikTok generation. All right. Oh, by the way, I learned that where TikTok came from, apparently it's a replacement for Vine.
That was music. Yeah,
Oh, Musically. Yes, apologies. Musically. Musically was there first, and then this is a replacement for that. Apologies. Now, then if you are doing a video, there is in the Google Drive, which you will have access to, a folder for student-based videos. Right? And some of the learners last year have done some, and they've uploaded them into the folder, and then one or two I've actually put into the YouTube channel, which you're also allowed to be a member of. Subscribe. Just saying. Okay. So, questions that you could do in either a tweet or a video. What is an oligopoly? It's quite straightforward. Next one. Why does it have a King's demand curve? Not so straightforward. Imagine trying to say an answer to that in 140 characters or 160 characters, however many it is. All right. what is collusion all about? Probably do that one. Why might a firm within an oligopoly that is colluding, why might they have an incentive to cheat? To cheat the oligopoly itself. Right, so add that to the Google Drive. If you're going to do a tweet, then you could probably do these sorts of questions as a tweet format. The only thing I would say, if you are tweeting, please add these hashtags, because those are the ones I have generated, right? And that will then enable me to find your tweet. Does that make sense? Because if I can find your tweet, then I can promote your tweet through my Twitter account. I say my Twitter account, the school, the department. Right? Okay. Little bit of a cheat. Have I told you the cheat about Twitter? No. It is a Donald Trump cheat as well. But if you have more than one Twitter account, so I have my personal one, and then there's the school or department one, I'm able to bounce between the two. So I'm able to like a tweet that I said in the other account, and vice versa. I'm able to retweet a tweet that I have tweeted myself. Now, okay, but Donald Trump does that. Yeah, to a slightly bigger degree, where he is actually claiming this is new information and it's himself who said it, but that's okay. People are saying, no, it was you. Now, so I know you may not have Twitter. That's cool. Right? It is short, microburst ideas, and the news channels post them. Tutor to You, which we looked at right, the other day, they post there too. So these are things. I've also I've posted the eLearn as well to you. Yes, the logins for eLearn Economics. Great site, by the way. So we've got three things we can do now. First one, tweeting. So you need to write a draft of your tweet before you tweet. If you want to write the draft but don't want to do the tweet, that's fine. All right, but the idea is to practice writing. Do a short video. You've all got computers and phones, etc., that will enable you to do said thing. The other thing that would be really helpful for you to do is to actually log into elearneconomics.com using the information, the code I shared with you, go through it, have a look at it, look at the HL content, the theory of the firm, see what is there. Right? It is different from cognitive. It's not cognitive, right? But it is a very good site. Right? And it is substantially cheaper than cognitive. Right? You can also, should you wish, buy your own individual membership to it, a sort of premium bit. And those who do buy a premium membership, you can actually click a button that will enable you to go on a leaderboard. So when you answer the questions, you're competing with the other students around the world, and you be top of the leaderboard in this and top of the world in that, all of those sorts of things. It's pretty cool, I think. Right? Yes, there is a little bit of, how do I put this? Quid pro quo. With regards to it, the eLearn Economics site, because the author of the website has done us a favor, has done us a deal with regards to accessing it. Yeah. However, they are wanting to update, refresh, change the site. Right? Sorry?
No, eLearn.
From eLearn.
Why do we suffer?
Shh, okay. Right? Shh. Okay. Yeah, so he's wanting to update and refresh the website. There's going to be a new IB Economics syllabus coming out with all sorts of different ways that it's arranged, etc. So that would be a fantastic opportunity for him to do an update on the site. But one of the things he's going to want is feedback. What do you think of the site? What do you think would be good, better, different, changed, etc.? So he's been doing that particular website for a number of years now, and it is very good. There's over 300 multiple choice questions, and they vary, they change. right? It's basically like a bot, right? So it changes the order of the questions and it will change the actual questions themselves. So you'll never answer all of the questions. You can't, right? But they're going to look familiar. Yeah. So what might be one question might be which is not a feature of an oligopoly, and then the next one it might be which is a feature of an oligopoly. That sort of idea. So it will change. They also have the short or extended response questions and answers and explanations as to why they are the answers, and there are downloadable PDF things that are possible to get more with the premium subscription, but still. Right, so those are your tasks. 1, tweet. 2, video. 3, elearneconomics.com. Go.
Maybe you're doing all of them?
No. Pick one.
Okay.
You don't have to pick the same one. You can do different ones. You can
Last
work
one.
together.
Learn.
elearneconomics.com. Working your way through the site, looking at the HL content, particularly theory of the firm, having a go at some of the questions, navigating around it so you know how it works. It's just as with cognitive, it takes a little bit of time to, where is bits and pieces, what wordings do they use, because it's not IB, it's economics. So it's designed for the IGCSE kids, the A-level kids, and the IB kids. So it's just purely economics. It's not separated out, right? So it might take you a little while to figure that out.
Does the percentages show how much we've covered?
Dependent on your, it will, but it might be that you need the individual subscription in order to do that.
Okay. How much is it?
Right?
30
So
30
you
USD.
can do some tweeting,
How long?
practice your
The
writing
current
with
school
regards
year.
to how to explain concepts.
What's up with it?
He's being so annoying.
You guys order the t-shirts?
No, that basically. So I told him
No?
I told him I was like, okay, so I need 300 shirts. He said 16.50 rupees, right?
So much.
I mean, the design's quite good. I was like, okay, fine. And then, but I told him, I was like, okay, there's different designs within the 300, right? Because there's delegate chair, secretary, and all that. And then I literally made it clear that he knew, okay, and